Hello YouTube! This is Stefan with Rip City Baseworks, and this is part 2 of building a server/workstation. Apologies for the delay in posting this video. I know it's been a while since the original one, and I've changed the video configuration a little bit since last time. So I've split the operating system portion into two parts. This first part is going to be choosing the OS, and it will be followed by installing and configuring the OS. So let's just get straight to it. So obviously for building a budget server or workstation, I do not recommend using Windows. It is very resource intensive, and you're just not going to get and it's not free, so your budget. So unless you're going to pirate it, you're going to be paying $100 or so for software that isn't as optimized for something like this. So what I definitely recommend is using a Linux distro. Now there are many different options. This first site I'm showing you, distrowatch.com, is a good resource to learn more about all of the different Linux distributions. And here are some of the most popular ones just listed here. I'll leave a link to this in the description along with the ones I'm going to go over. So pretty much for the server and or workstation, you're going to want something that's very efficient. You're going to want maximum performance without taking up with the operating system itself taking up the minimum amount of resources. So you want all the resources to actually compile and run your code or do whatever you want them to do. So first one I'm not sure if recommends the right word, but I'm going to go over is the most popular one, Ubuntu. This one has a very large user base, so there's like lots of very helpful forums and like tutorial videos and stuff to get into more specifics than I'm going to go into, as I'm doing this in more general sense. But this is definitely a great way to get started, especially if you're planning on Android development, as this is the official Linux distribution of Android. So this is the best place to get started for that. They make a version of Ubuntu that's specifically for web servers also. I'll try to find that real quick. Here we go, Server Edition. So this will not be the one I'm using personally, because I'm going to be using this for development also, but if you're just looking for a server, that's probably your best bet, as it's probably going to have most of the settings pre-configured and stuff. It's probably going to have server software pre-installed. So the one I would use if I choose Ubuntu would be desktop, just because more flexibility and it's not too much more resource intensive. Okay, so let's just look at some screenshots hopefully. So it's gonna have like kind of the classic or generic Linux distro look. So GNOME 2 I believe it's called. And all these are open source, so completely free, or if you have the extra money you can donate to them to help them improve their products and security and stuff. So as for number 2, this one is a more user-friendly Linux distribution that's based on Ubuntu. So this is Zorin OS. They're on version 12.1 I believe. This is one of my favorite Linux distributions just because it's very stylish. I prefer the more clean Windows look to more of the GNOME 2 look. So it's pretty much same functionality as Ubuntu, slightly more resource intensive. It shouldn't matter that much. It is not as resource intensive as Windows, and it will definitely be a better choice for your web server than using Windows or Mac for that matter. If you want to make a Hackintosh, Linux is more efficient and better for this type of purpose, and a bigger development community. So And let's see if I can find some screenshots of this also here. So yeah, it's pretty much a version of Ubuntu that's has extra pre-installed open source software and is pretty much marketed towards people making the first time switch to Linux. And moving on, here is Linux Mint, another very popular Linux distribution. So this one again, kind of going out of the official like Android development, but that doesn't matter if you're not looking to do Android development. You might prefer something like this. It'll work for server, it'll even work for Android development. Any of these will work for Android development. Just the Ubuntu-based ones are the official ones. Like the Zorin even has all like the official Ubuntu packages, like it's based on it. It's just like pretty much reskinned, if you will, and some like extra features, I guess. Linux Mint is kind of its own thing. It's got like its own interface. I'll have like I'll do like a more in-depth video of these where I like install each of them and like show you like the actual differences, but this is like a brief overview pretty much. And all of these I'm showing you are completely free. Like you can download them if you have a stable internet connection and install them. Okay, moving on, we have Debian. This one's more getting back to classic Linux distributions. This has been around for a long time, probably since the late 90s at least. As kind of moving on to less fancy websites also, this is more like bare bones. It's more like the origin, like where everything comes from, I guess. It is more lightweight than the other ones that I've gone over so far, so if you're really looking for efficiency, this might be your bet. It's probably not going to be quite as user-friendly, but if you got the strong will or desire to really get into Linux, then I would recommend something like this. Not sure if there's going to be any screenshots on this site. We can check though. Or not. Okay, moving on. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah, so definitely not the best website, but don't let the website fool you. This is a very quality operating system. You can even, yeah, you could, you could look it up on Google Images, but yeah. And then we have Elementary OS. So this one I believe is based on Ubuntu also. I haven't actually tried this one myself yet. So for this one, if you're coming from Mac OS, this is going to be what you'll probably want. It's practically an Apple clone. It's got like your dock. It's got a very similar interface, just stuff like that. I'm gonna actually check that. Elementary OS. Let's see if it's based on Ubuntu. Yep, it is. So pretty much it's in the same league as Zorin. Like you could use this for Android development. Probably about the same resource intensity as Zorin, so slightly more than Ubuntu, but not significantly. So it wouldn't really, if you're running low-end hardware, it will still run perfectly fine. So next we have CentOS. So this one is the open source version of the Enterprise Red Hat project. So this one is actually like focused for like enterprise and actually focused for server development. So if you like know more about Linux or want to get really into it, this would be a very solid choice. It's going to be very high on security, very high on stability. So if you want like a pure web server, you know what you're doing, you want to get it done, you can't go wrong with CentOS. let's see. Let's see if we can see about. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have screenshots on the site. Yeah, there's not gonna be screenshots, it looks like. But it looks like they have a forum even, so question and answer, stuff like that. Okay, and this one, OpenSUSE, I believe it's pronounced, is another one just meant for servers. So it's 2 versions. This one's like the frequently updated version. This one's like the long-term updated version, kind of like how Ubuntu has it. So this one's kind of like the same thing as Ubuntu. Like you'll get like a stable one that gets security updates, and for like moms. So if you need like really stable development environment, this is for you. If you want like cutting-edge technology, this one's for you. I don't have as much experience with this one either, because it's a pretty clean interface, stuff like that. Then finally, the most efficient one, extremely lightweight, Arch Linux. I don't even think it has a GUI. I'm pretty sure it's all terminal based. So if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, get extremely efficient, just get to work done, this is for you. This is for someone who doesn't care about graphics, just wants to get straight to the code, and knows how, and is decent enough at a command line that they can get this set up and running. Might do a tutorial on that also, who knows. And of course there's a ton of other distributions. Those are just the ones I would most recommend. There's probably and there's one I forgot, Fedora. You could look into that also. Just any of these, most of them are probably quality. Some of them, not all of them, are open source. Red Hat is the only one I know off the top of my head that isn't, so I didn't. That's a quality one, but that costs money, so that's not on my list. Yeah, and just you could look into any of those, and any of them are probably quality alternatives. So the next video will go over installing one of these, and I'll probably have like a more in-depth one where I like compare some of these Linux distributions by installing them myself and like showing you the differences and similarities, I guess.